Most people start their mornings on autopilot, rushing to check their phones, replying to messages before they've had a single thought that truly belongs to them. The Stoics were different. Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, and Epictetus began each day by training their minds before the world had a chance to influence them. If you can control the first 10 minutes after waking up, you can control the entire day. You wake up every morning thinking you're starting fresh, but you're not. The truth is, you've already set your trajectory before you even open your eyes. That's the paradox. You believe the day begins when you rise, yet in reality, it begins with the habits you carried into your sleep the night before. If you woke yesterday without purpose, today is already on that same track, unless you choose to break it. Most people never notice this. They go through decades of mornings, thinking each one is a clean slate, when in fact, each is a continuation of yesterday's drift. It's uncomfortable to admit, but the way you start your morning is less about the clock and more about the compass. You can wake up at 5 a.m. and still be aimless. You can sleep until 8 and still own your day. What matters is whether you open your eyes with intention or whether you begin in reaction to whatever the world throws at you. Stoicism teaches us that the first battle of the day is not with the traffic, the emails, or the deadlines. It's with the direction of your own mind. And if you lose that first battle, everything else is just damage control. So I'll ask you directly, when you woke up this morning, did you decide who you wanted to be before you decided what you wanted to do? This distinction is subtle, but it's the difference between a day that's lived deliberately and a day that's lived by default. Marcus Aurelius didn't wake waiting for perfect conditions. He began each morning with the question, what must I do today as a human being? Not as an emperor, not as a soldier, as a human being. And that question shaped his entire day before any event could pull him off course. If you find value here, subscribe. It's a small click for you, but it helps us share more timeless Stoic wisdom with the world. Let's test your own perspective. Which do you think is harder? A, controlling your thoughts, or B, controlling your emotions? Leave your answer in the comments. Your reasoning might reveal more about how you approach your mornings than you realize. A study by the American Psychological Association found that nearly half of people start their day by checking their phone within 5 minutes of waking up. They believe they're just catching up, but they're actually surrendering control of their attention to someone else's priorities before they've even left the bed. That's the intellectual pain of modern life. We're not just distracted, we're willingly giving away the most valuable and unrepeatable moments of our day. And here's another truth. You can't reclaim that moment later. The first minutes after waking are like wet cement. What you impress upon them will harden into the shape of your day. Start with clarity, and the rest of the day tends to align. Start with noise, and you spend the next 12 hours cleaning mental clutter that you created in the first 10 minutes. This is why Stoicism is not about dramatic speeches or rare heroic acts. It's about these small, repeated victories. Choosing to be the architect of your morning is choosing to be the architect of your life. And yet, most people will spend more time deciding what to wear than deciding what mental state to carry into the day. That is the silent defeat Stoicism warns against. Not a failure that's obvious and loud, but one that's quiet, habitual, and devastating in its accumulation. So, before we go further, ask yourself, are you beginning your day as the captain of your ship or as a passenger carried by the current? And if you are the passenger, how many mornings have you already surrendered without even realizing it? And yet, there's a principle Marcus Aurelius lived by that most people ignore until it's too late. You can't expect to arrive anywhere meaningful if you begin moving without knowing where you're going. Yet most people launch into their day like a ship leaving harbor with no coordinates, trusting that speed will make up for the absence of direction. It never does. In fact, moving quickly without clarity only ensures you reach the wrong place faster. The uncomfortable truth is that your life is already full of other people's priorities waiting to occupy your time. Emails, messages, notifications, casual requests. Each one is an open invitation to let someone else steer your day. You tell yourself you're being responsive or handling what's urgent. But what you're really doing is handing over the wheel before you've even decided on a destination. That's not leadership, it's drift. Stoicism draws a sharp line here. Seneca warned, "If one does not know to which port one is sailing, no wind is favorable." A favorable wind is meaningless to the captain who hasn't chosen a port. And the same applies to you. Good opportunities, helpful people, and lucky breaks can't help you if you haven't defined where you want them to take you. This is why your first conscious act after waking should not be movement. It should be orientation. Before you pour coffee, before you check the weather, decide on the 3 things that matter most today. Not a vague wish list, but clear, concrete actions you are committed to completing. Write them down. And here's the part most skip. Anticipate the resistance. Identify the single biggest obstacle to each priority and decide in advance how you will respond. This mental rehearsal transforms problems from surprises into planned challenges. Consider the difference. You intend to exercise today, but the forecast says rain. If you haven't planned for that, the weather wins and the workout dies. If you've already decided the rain means an indoor routine instead, the obstacle becomes irrelevant. The clarity is the victory. This isn't about controlling every minute of your day. That's impossible. It's about removing the ambiguity that allows distraction to creep in. When your compass is set, you'll still face storms, but you won't be debating whether to turn the wheel every time the wind changes. You already know you're heading. I've seen this principle work in the most demanding environments. A friend of mine, a paramedic, starts each shift by deciding the 3 non-medical things he'll get done during the day. Often as simple as calling a family member or reading a chapter of a book. Amid unpredictable emergencies, those small anchors keep him from feeling like his entire life is defined by chaos. That's the quiet strength of orientation. It makes even a turbulent day feel like it belongs to you. If you know someone who needs this message, share this video with them. You might change their day, or even their life. The discipline of choosing your compass isn't just about planning. It's about declaring, before the day begins, what you refuse to surrender. And in Stoicism, there's a practice that takes this even further, preparing your mind for what will almost certainly go wrong. Marcus Aurelius applied it every morning, and it reshaped how he met adversity. That's where we're headed next. You want a disciplined mind, yet you begin the day by neglecting the very thing that carries it, the body. That's the paradox most people live in. They try to think clearly, work effectively, and make sound decisions while running on a physical system they've ignored since the moment they woke. You can't expect mental precision from a body treated like an afterthought. It's an intellectual blind spot. You think discipline starts with willpower or careful planning, but in reality, it begins with the physical state you create in the first minutes of your day. Without hydration, natural light, and oxygen, you're not functioning at full capacity. You're already starting the day with a silent disadvantage, competing against people who began by fueling their system before engaging their mind. The Stoics understood this connection, even if they didn't speak in modern physiological terms. Epictetus taught that we should first say to ourselves what we would be, and then do what we have to do. If you would be focused, stable, and capable, your first actions must signal that intention. When you choose water over scrolling, sunlight over screens, and movement over slouching back into bed, you're telling your mind, this day will be lived with clarity, not in fog. Consider the consequences of the opposite choice. When you wake and immediately turn to your phone, you're flooding your nervous system with demands before you've even given it the basics it needs to operate. Your eyes take in artificial light before natural light. Your brain begins digesting information before your stomach has taken in water. You're effectively running emergency protocols before you've done system checks. And just like any complex system, running under those conditions long enough leads to breakdown, not always in dramatic crashes, but in the slow erosion of focus, mood, and energy. There's a reason elite performers, whether they're athletes, military leaders, or creative professionals, treat their mornings as a physical ritual before anything else. They understand that a mind unanchored in a ready body is like a sword in a rotting scabbard. It doesn't matter how sharp it is, it will be damaged over time. Even the simplest actions, a full glass of water, a few minutes outside letting the morning light touch your face, slow breathing to reset your nervous system, are not trivial. They are the quiet disciplines that protect you from starting the day already behind. You don't need an elaborate routine, you need a conscious one. This is where the Stoic principle of intentional action meets biology. The moment you rise, you either confirm your readiness to live well today, or you drift into the same half-alert state you carried yesterday. That choice, repeated hundreds of times over a lifetime, is the difference between a mind that grows sharper with age and one that dulls in spite of experience. If this lesson resonates with you, like this video and subscribe for more timeless Stoic wisdom. In Stoicism, physical readiness is not the end, it's the foundation. Once the body is prepared, the mind must be trained to meet the world on its own terms, not on the terms set by distraction and fear. And next, we'll uncover the mindset Marcus Aurelius used to remain unshaken, even in the face of death. Every morning, the first ideas you allow into your mind begin to shape you, whether you choose them or not. That's the paradox. You think you are thinking freely, but in reality, you're already being influenced by the first voices you hear, the first images you see, the first problems you react to. The question is not whether your mind will be trained, but by whom. If the first thing you consume is a flood of messages, notifications, and news headlines, you're letting the outside world set the tone and priorities of your day. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself each morning that he would meet meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, dishonest, jealous, and surly people. He wasn't being pessimistic. He was preparing his mind to stay steady when faced with them. Preparation is not negativity, it's defense. Think about the last time you told yourself, "I'll start focusing once I've caught up." That's the trap. You never catch up because the world has no shortage of noise to feed you. Without deliberate effort, you are reacting to an endless stream of other people's agendas. And with each reaction, your own agenda fades. The Stoic approach is simple. Before you let the world in, train your mind to meet it on your own terms. This can be as straightforward as 5 minutes of reading something that strengthens you, or writing a short reflection about what you will focus on today and why it matters. These acts are not rituals for the sake of tradition. They are mental training sessions. Just as a soldier doesn't enter the battlefield without drills, you should not step into the day without preparing your thoughts. Seneca warned that life is very short and anxious for those who forget the past, neglect the present, and fear the future. Neglecting the present often begins with starting the day in distraction. The minutes you lose to meaningless input in the morning are not neutral. They actively weaken your ability to think clearly and act decisively later. You might believe you can recover lost time, but that's another self-deception. A day that begins in reaction rarely transforms into a day of deliberate action. Momentum matters. If you keep delaying, opportunities won't just pass by. They will never return. So, before the emails, before the headlines, before the demands, claim a small, deliberate victory over your mind. Choose what you will feed it. If you can make that choice consistently, you'll find that the noise of the world no longer controls you, because you've already chosen your response before it arrives. In the next part, we'll move from the mind's readiness to the deeper foundation of Stoic living, a principle Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, and Epictetus all placed at the center of their philosophy, one that quietly determines whether your actions build lasting character or erode it over time. Living as if tomorrow will not come is not a call to reckless indulgence. It is a reminder of the fragile nature of time and the quiet truth that every day you delay living with intention is a day you will never recover. Many people plan their lives as if the calendar is guaranteed to keep turning in their favor, saving their best efforts and deepest commitments for later. But later is a concept without any real foundation. The Stoics warned against this illusion, not to inspire fear, but to sharpen clarity about what matters now. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think." It is not a morbid thought, but a liberating one. When you stop assuming you have unlimited tomorrows, you stop postponing the conversations you know you should have, the projects you say you will start, and the self-discipline you promise you will build next week. You stop living in the hypothetical and begin to operate in the present. The truth is, most of the things we delay are not delayed because we lack time, but because we lack urgency. You might tell yourself you are not ready to commit to a habit, to confront a challenge, or to take a necessary risk. But readiness is often an illusion we create to justify inaction. If tomorrow is not guaranteed, then waiting to be ready is the same as choosing not to act at all. Living as if tomorrow will not come is not about rushing through your day or frantically checking off tasks. It is about prioritizing actions that align with your values and long-term vision, even if they are uncomfortable. It is choosing quality over quantity, substance over appearance, principle over convenience. It means having the difficult conversation rather than leaving it for another time. It means practicing gratitude today instead of assuming you will do it later. Seneca reminded us that it is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it. The cost of waste is not always visible in the moment, but it compounds quietly until you look back and wonder where the years went. If you make decisions with the assumption that this day could be your last opportunity to live according to your highest standard, your choices become sharper, your attention becomes more deliberate, and your tolerance for distraction begins to fade. This mindset does not remove planning for the future, it refines it. You still prepare for tomorrow, but you do not depend on it. You make progress today, not because you are in a hurry, but because you refuse to take the present for granted. And in doing so, you train yourself to meet each day as a complete unit of life, not just a step towards some indefinite later. In just one sentence, share the Stoic principle you live by. Every morning is an opportunity to set the course of your mind before the world does it for you. And the central lesson of this video has been clear. Deliberate, disciplined routines rooted in Stoic principles are not a luxury. They are the foundation for clarity, resilience, and purpose. By aligning your first actions of the day with timeless wisdom, you ensure that your mind remains your own, even in the face of distraction, uncertainty, and noise. The deeper truth here is that Stoicism is not about withdrawing from life's demands, but about meeting them from a position of inner strength. As Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. In practice, this means choosing small, repeatable actions each morning. Reflection before reaction. Gratitude before desire. Intention before activity. So that each day begins on your terms. It's not the size of these actions that matters, but their consistency and alignment with what you value most. The real challenge is not learning these ideas, but living them when the pull of habit and convenience tempts you back into autopilot. And that leads to a question worth carrying into tomorrow. If you lost the ability to control how your day begins, how long before you lost the ability to control yourself? Share your own perspective. What is the one Stoic habit you believe could transform your mornings? Subscribe to discover timeless Stoic principles each week and learn how to apply them in real life.